guys know so much about music that you would raise the bar for others to aspire to. You guys should come do that.
Wait, there's a bar, and now I'm in.
Hey, this is Josh. This is Chico with the Black Moods, and we're on the All Over the Place podcast where the fun sanity never ends.
Hello and welcome back to All Over the Place. I'm your host, Eric Pervoznik. Once again, thanking everybody for liking and sharing, subscribing. We continue to grow leaps and bounds. More subscribers this week, both at the YouTube channel and at Spotify and Amazon Music. Thank you, everybody. We're 2025 continuing to kick major ass thanks to you. And it is appreciated by all of us here on Team AOTP. Speaking of Team AOTP, Jim Culver, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Awesome. We had final cuts today on the baseball team, so now it's an official team. We're ready to rock forward, but that's a show for a different time. And we've also got Marty back with us. Hello, Marty.
Hey.
Good to have you back in the AOTP house. Also back in the AOTP house, joining us from DrumTalkTV.com, the fabulous Dan Shinder. How are you, Dan?
Good. You guys hear me?
Personal is how Dan is.
You guys,
everybody say hi to Dan real close. There we go.
We got like a David Lynch movie for a second there.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on again. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. And we should all raise a glass there to Dan Shinder.
Yes.
Mine may or may not be water. No comment beyond that.
Well, there's an olive in my water. What's up with that?
Yes. How'd that happen? We can't have that. And olive mixes with something else clear. But again,
get blue cheese and a Xanax. Oh, wait, what?
We try a lot of different things. And it was about a year since Dan's been with us. So, Dan, fill us in on all the very cool things going on at Drum Talk TV, because so much has happened since you last have been
thank
with
you.
us.
Yeah. How long has it been? I don't recall.
It's been about a year.
Oh my God, really? Wow. So in the last year, we've had a great grandson who's going to be a year old February 29th. So we're celebrating on the 28th. But business-wise, we have our membership site officially launched. It's in the ticker. It's DrumTalkTVBrilliance.com. Share your brilliance and admire the brilliance of others. We've got live stream game shows, music trivia game shows twice a month, the first and third Tuesday of every month. Those are a lot of fun. People can win prizes, and we've seen people win by guessing. I can run down the themes later. We have monthly drumming challenges. Last month was a tribute to Phil Collins. This month is Neil Peart, still going on. If anyone's ever heard of Neil, he played with a Flash in the Pan band called Hurry or Apurate. No, Rush. That's it. And that's going through the end of the month. You could submit your videos through the website. And next month is Vinnie Paul. Then we got Stuart Copeland, a whole year's worth of drumming tribute, drumming challenges. Now, here's what's unique about that is you can, if you're a drummer, you can play to the original released soundtracks from albums, and they won't get muted or pulled because it's our freaking platform. We can do what we want. And it's in front of the paywall, so we don't have to pay royalties. It's free for anybody. However, if you're a premium member, you get to submit as many videos as you want. If you're a free member, you could submit 2, which is still really cool. So we're excited about that. We got a bunch of entries already, some deep cuts. And excuse me, our judges are myself, and then we got Brian Tichy, we have Jason Gianni, and Lou Calderola, who's been in the longest standing Rush tribute band for 24 years. So a lot of fun stuff like that. And it's not just for drummers, it's for music fans. And we're working on a documentary coming to fruition in Brazil, another one in Uganda. Just so much going on. I don't even remember it all. So that's why I have a team. I'm just I don't know. Why am I here again? I don't know.
Founder, CEO,
For the water.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
et cetera.
Dog walker, cat herder. We have 3 dogs, 2 cats, 11 kids, 19 grandkids, and a great grandson. So that's my real job.
All over the place and all of the above.
It's fitting.
Yes. And Jim's our resident drummer, so Jim, get on the Neil thing. And I'm just curious, Dan, what is the one of the judges? You say he's in the longest standing Rush tribute band. What is the name of that band?
That band is called I'm having a brain fart.
It is
No, that's not the
really
name of the
clever.
band. It's Limelight. It's Lou
There you
Calderola
go.
is in the band Limelight, and they've been together 24 years. And Lou is a really great drummer. He also he co-hosts a show with me on Drum Talk TV, an original series called Under the Influence. And what we do is we go live, we drink a bunch of beer. No, I'm kidding. We talk about our influences, and every month we have a theme and that relates to that month. And we talk about our influences. We show 3 clips each and talk about it's a lot of fun. So Lou's one of the judges because he's such a great study of Neil Peart, as is Brian Tichy, who has played with Ozzy, Whitesnake, Foreigner. He does the Bonzo Bashes. Brian's pedigree goes on and on and on. And then we got Jason Gianni, who's an educator at the New York Drumming School Collective. He also played in with Mark Wood from the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. I mean, it goes on and on. So we're very excited to have these guys part of what we do and, quote, judge people's entries. It's a lot of fun. It really is.
That's it, Culver. Get on it. You're our drummer here. You got to step up for us.
There you
You
go,
call
Jim.
that, I'm
You gotta
on it.
submit, man.
All right.
Nice. Well, and in the year since we last had you, you've had Mike Portnoy on your show, which was brought up on our last show by me. He was one of my honorable mentions for my favorite drummer. So very cool. I loved watching that. I mean, drum's not my instrument, but I'm a lover of music, and it was so. I just love your conversations with people. You see your love and their love. It's just so very cool. Thank you for that.
Thanks. And that's really the essence of Drum Talk TV. It's not just for drummers, it's for music fans. And the ethos of Drum Talk TV from the very beginning has always been, if you are a drummer, we can not only learn at a practice pad or a snare drum or at a drum kit or hand drums like that, we learn from conversations with people on their perspectives based on their unique experiences. And me, it's funny, we have a team meeting every Wednesday. Today's Wednesday as we're doing this. And I told my team today, I've been a huge sports fan all my life, and I listen to interviews that happen within sports that I might not even be a fan of, like hockey. I'm not a huge hockey fan, but I love the conversations because it's a microcosm of sociology and society. And that's the way I feel about music and interviews with people who might be of a genre that aren't even in my purview, but you learn from other people's experiences. And that's what makes it fun. And that's what we do.
I love hearing that because it's funny. I as a baseball coach, I deal with so many kids these days. They only play
and their parents.
They just play baseball. And
Right.
I think back and they talk with me and they say, did you play baseball? I said, yeah, it was baseball, soccer, and basketball. All 3? I said, well, yeah, it was Ohio. It was cyclical. But yeah, I would rather have someone, and you hear all these college coaches talk and they say, I'd rather have a 2 or 3 sport athlete come up to play with me because they know how to figure things out differently. And you hear different conversations, and that may help you. You hear a guitarist talking, not your instrument, but you hear that what they're saying, and that maybe makes you a better drummer because you know how to lock into that.
I love that because I think I'm the oldest one here. And I don't know if they had what I'm going to mention when you guys were young, but when I was a kid, there was something that was a fraction of the YMCA. It was called Gray Y, and we played it was cyclical, like you said, and we played flag football, we played basketball, we played soccer and track and field, and it cycled over and over through the seasons, and we learned exactly what you're talking about. We took the same values and applied it to different sports that required different athleticism. And there were kids that were not athletic at all, but they participated in the same way, and we all learned the same things together. So I kind of see what you're saying, and Eric, and we equate that the same way to music, where even if you're not, I tell musicians all the time, listen to music that you're not a fan of, especially if you're a musician, because you'll pick up tools for your toolbox that will apply to what you are into. So when I was coming up in the music scene, I was in a snobby progressive rock band. And I remember cutting my hair short And at the time, new wave was kind of coming up, and I was not into that. But I showed up for rehearsal, and the bass player opened the door, saw my haircut, and slammed the door on me. He said, "Come back when your hair grows back." And now, many 30, 40 years later, I love those bands, Duran Duran, the B-52s, Tears for Fears. I love those bands now. So stretch your horizons and pick up tools from things that you think are out of your purview, because they will become valuable in ways that you can't even imagine right now. Don't get stuck. Don't be like an actor that gets pigeonholed, gets a lot of work in a flash, and then gets typecast and there's no place for you. It's the same way in music or sports, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely. And on that note, I'm glad you brought up those two different genres, because I was very briefly in a band in high school, and but I came up with a name. This is the mid '80s, and I'm going to let you guys, since there's three of you, we're going to vote whether or not you think the name of this band would have been better as a prog rock, or snobby or otherwise prog rock band, or a synth related band, a synth heavy band. The name of the band that I came up with was Sophisticated Reflex. Dan, would that be better as a prog rock or a synth band like Duran Duran?
Wow, that's so borderline. I'm going to go with prog.
Prog. Marty, to you.
I hear new wave.
New wave. Jim, you're the deciding factor here. What's it going to be?
That
Prog rock or synth?
that to me sounds incredibly prog rock. I got to go with prog rock.
Okay, well, we have a winner now. Sophisticated Reflex. I have no prog ability whatsoever, but that's, if I ever form a band, that's what I'm going to call it, Sophisticated Reflex.
You know what? I love that, because I don't know if I mentioned this when I was on 8 years ago, or whatever you said. But I have this weird hobby, idiosyncrasy, where in my phone, I keep a notepad of band names that just come to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a list of about 200 band names. Some of them are not family friendly. So the fact that you just have a band name that comes to you, I love that, because that's like one of my weird hobbies.
Hey, do any of those have a umlaut?
What's that?
Do any of them have an umlaut?
I'm guessing a lot of them do.
Yeah, absolutely. And many of mine are like yours was. They could be this genre or that genre.
I even had a little logo. I kind of ripped off the Stevie Ray Vaughan thing. I put a big S with a curve, and then the R in the middle of it. So
I love it.
Yeah, I was not a designer. But and just a very quick shout out though with band names. I got to give it up to my youngest brother Mark, in the whole heavy metal, the hair band, or the glam metal, whatever you want to call it. My brother just lumped all the Slaughters and Warrants and all that. He has called them all Slither. So shout out to little brother Mark Pervoznik there.
Hey, Mark.
My blues brother Mark Pervoznik, the great guitarist / multi-instrumentalist. But enough of different band names, because we have actually gotten, and actually Mark's going to be brought up a little bit later, because last time Dan was here, we did our favorite. The Threefer was favorite drummers. This time around, we're going to like mix things up a little bit here, have some fun. We are doing power trios tonight. And then our plus one will be a power trio who added a member or members who then took the band to another level.
So I have a question about that.
Yes.
Is it adding a fourth member or replacing a member?
You know what? This is all over the place, Dan.
Okay.
I leave that up to you. So
Okay, cool.
An honorable mention or 4, we don't care. We're having fun.
Okay.
But we are, however, going to start with you. So we're just doing our favorite 3 power trios. Dan Shinder, I go to you for your number 3 power trio.
This is tough. So before I give my answer, I'm going to lay a few thoughts out on the table. One is the Cream. Oh my gosh. One lineup, about 3 years and a bunch of albums, legendary. Jimi Hendrix, and then the Jimi Hendrix Experience, 2 different lineups, all trios, but just amazing, right? And then you've got what's that?
Don't use them all up.
Yeah. But I think
I'd say at least 3.
Yeah, you're rattling off a bunch of mine.
you've got Robin Trower, you've got so many, but my first trio, I'm thinking through my first trio that I really just dove deep into: Emerson, Lake, and Palmer. But they had one album as ELP with a different member.
Ah,
That was
I used to make
Emerson,
them
Lake,
Powell.
and Powell. They had Cozy
Remember?
Cozy
Powell,
Pal, yeah.
right? Because Carl Palmer went on to join Asia, and ELP got together, Greg Lake, Keith Emerson, and they recruited Cozy Powell of Rainbow fame. He played with Jeff Beck. And I saw that tour at Irvine Meadows. And what blew my mind the most was seeing Cozy Powell playing double bass and freaking cowboy boots. Like I play here, I've got them on. I play in pool shoes. They're like ballet slippers, so much flexibility. In cowboy boots that have zero flexibility, it just blew my mind. So that's one power trio that replaced a member. I'll save my other choices after we go around the horn if you like.
Yes, I like that. That's a good first choice. I had a feeling somebody was going to be bringing up ELP, and now with your love of prog, Dan, I figured it was going to be you. But I have a feeling that Jim figured there's going to be a lot of overlap tonight. I'm feeling it from somebody else as well. And Marty, were you at that Irvine Meadows show in early '80s?
I was not, but I was very familiar.
You were probably like 10.
I'm 57, so
How old are you?
57.
So when was this? Oh, I know when it was, because I got T-boned that day
Oh
on the
my.
way to the concert. I did. And so quick story, I had a 1.5 or almost 2-year-old daughter, my first, and my wife at the time was pregnant with our second, and we got T-boned about half a mile from my parents' house, ran to my parents' house, dropped the kids off. My dad let me take his car to Irvine from the San Fernando Valley. So that was 1988. How old were you then?
Well, I graduated high school in '85, so I would have been about 20.
Okay. There you go.
But I do remember the P becoming Powell.
Right.
It's
Isn't
like,
that weird?
that's weird. That's a happy coincidence, right? Or maybe they picked him because of it. I don't know. It's kinda like,
Go through all the Greg Fillinganes, no, that's a keyboard player.
well, it's kind of like the Brady Bunch, the suit fit. Your last name was a P. You got first dibs.
That's
we don't want
funny.
that Provoznik guy. We hear he's barely functional as a rhythm guitarist. So no, we don't need him. All right, but our guitarist here, who is better than he claims he thinks he is, Marty. We go to you for your number 3. There you go, Sasquatch on the axe. So Marty, your number 3 pick for power trios.
All right. Well, my number 3. I can't even believe it's my number 3, but the other 2 are quite good. Is Sublime. They are, to me, I was never into ska or reggae or has a punk vibe to it. I saw Red, ones like that are kind of punkish, but man, oh man, they really, really made things. They filled the room with sound, and I never saw them live, but man, I mean, to my understanding, that in the studio they were just ripping, and the producer, everybody scrambled to get something good out of it. So I really, really love them. They only had 2 albums and didn't even really break till Bradley died, but just all the great songs they had. That it's like the beach vibe, and I discovered it when I moved down to Carlsbad, California. I knew of Sublime and I liked them and listened to them, but really got into the reggae groove, and they were just perfect for me because it was a little more aggressive than, say, hip hop, Marley, Peter Tosh type music. So really love Sublime. 3 guys, and ironically, I just looked at my list. Everybody here is an epic drummer, except this guy. I mean, anybody know the drummer to Sublime? His name?
That would be a no.
Yeah, his name is Brett Blood, and he's a good drummer. But you'll see all the rest of my own are all really big names, big drummer names. So anyway, Sublime, I thought they're a really fun band. They always made me feel a little more energetic, and I just dug it, man. They were really cool and really rough around the edges, and they made a lot of mistakes. It was just cool.
That's such a sleeper. Like, that didn't even occur to me. That's a great take. I love that. And they're a much more contemporary, band. And when the topic was brought up, my brain immediately goes to old school classic. So I love that take, Marty. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And Marty, very quickly, I know that this is you and Nick, your wife, and Nicole are big fans, and I'm one of those guys like, but you both will be very happy to know I no longer turn their stuff off. I got, look, in the late 90s when that song came out, it was all over the place. I was hearing it way too much, but now I will actually listen to the whole song out of respect to you and Nick. So I'm finally liking it almost 30 years later.
Yeah. You know what, though? One of the things I love about them the most, I must admit, I'm not tremendously familiar with their music, but their logo with the sun, I've been a fan of the smiling sun since I was a little kid, and that's the only tattoo I have. I designed that myself, so I dig the smiling sun.
Wow. Yeah.
Dan, Marty's opinion of you just went up 1,000-fold.
You're a drummer. That's already, really bumps you up a lot. But I mean, holy smokes, that's a cool tattoo.
Nice.
Sublime without it being Sublime. That's cool. And what's it called?
I got to dive in.
Huh? I
got to dive into their music some more.
Do you know what that sun is called? Does it have a name, or did you just design it?
I designed that myself. Yeah.
Because over your right shoulder is something sun-looking. I know it's
when I was a little kid at Topanga Plaza, near where I grew up in Woodland Hills, West Hills area, when you came up the escalator at Montgomery Ward, there was this sand mosaic of a smiling sun. And there was something about it as a little kid that just got me. And when I was 44, 45, I wanted to get a tattoo, and I thought, what could I get that I'll never grow out of? And I have a positive attitude and everything. And I remembered the smiling sun, and I thought, I'll never grow out of being positive. So I drew it, and a guy did it, and there you go.
Very cool. Very cool.
We're going to swing it over right now to our resident drummer and future, contest enterer, Jim Culver.
Hopefully. Yeah, so my number 3, there's a band I've mentioned a few times on here before, but maybe it's a generational thing, but I love them and I never get tired of talking about them, and that's Blink-182. Really, really fantastic trio. You got Tom DeLonge on vocals, Mark Hoppus on the guitar, and the great Travis Barker on drums. Man, these guys were just pop punk gods in my book. They were incredible. Enema of the State is still one of my favorite albums. It's fantastic. And just the stuff these guys put together at their young age, and you can go see them in concert, and it's like they're playing in fast forward. They just had this amazing energy, and they meshed really well together, and they made some really fun tunes together. They spun off into other bands and reunited, and but still the three of them are the best, and so they're my pick for number 3.
And Jim, when we get to the inevitable playlist for this particular episode, and this is no fault, but I'm going to need some new songs from Blink-182 to add to the playlist just to mix things up a little bit.
I can supply those, not a problem.
I knew you'd be able to. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. By the way, Sublime has more than one song too.
They did. I was going to add into what you said, Marty. So I remember as a high schooler, Sublime was playing on the radio all the time. It was one of those bands that they just played in constant rotation in the Bay Area. You
Oh,
know,
wow.
and it was like every '90s kid in the Bay Area wanted to be a gangster or cholo at the time, even if they're most lily white kid in the world. But so that music fit right into that particular scene. So yeah, it was everywhere, and yeah, I dug their stuff a lot too. Yeah, so.
All right, well, Marty, what do they got besides what I got? Help me out. I know.
Oh my God.
Santeria.
Santeria, there. That's the other one. Yes.
Batfish. You know, there's one that I saw Red with Gwen Stefani. That's and that one's a really punk sounding one too.
That'll be on the playlist.
Loud
We'll
and
make
sloppy.
that happen. Nice.
That's how I play guitar, drums, bass, loud and sloppy. That's my style.
That's rock and roll or reggae rock and roll. I dig it. All right. See, you can teach this middle-aged dog some new tricks, and Sublime will be it.
In honor of that,
and Jim, you've been bringing them up so much, Jim. I've been listening to more Blink 182 than I did when it came out. So, see, I'm influencing you, good, bad, or indifferent, with the replacements. You're influencing me with.
I was about to say they're my replacements, and I'm going to keep pounding until everybody else is a fan too.
I've beaten you down. You've beaten me down. I like
it. Mutual beatings all around.
Well, the replacements are a 4-piece, so they will not be mentioned on the show by me. But I'm going to bring up a band. My number 3 for my favorite power trios will be a band fronted by a guy who was coming up with this in the Minneapolis area. That would be Bob Mould, who was originally in a power trio known as Husker Du. But my favorite power trio that Bob fronted was Sugar. Only had 2 albums in the early 90s, Copper Blue and File Under Easy Listening. Then they had a B-sides compilation and a live album. But but these guys, they had David Barb and Malcolm Travis. Malcolm Travis also in the band. And these guys, it was just loud, fast, power pop punk. And my God, just Copper Blue, front to back, brilliant album. File Under Easy Listening, almost as good. Not quite, but still, it's just like Bob Mould, great songwriter, great guitarist, and those 2 other guys, just 3 guys pumping it out fast and loud and catchy. Great hooks. Gets great power pop punk hooks. So Sugar will be my number 3 power trio.
Interesting. I'm not familiar with them at all. And disclaimer,
I'll send you the playlist, Dan, so you can sample all this stuff.
Yeah, I'd love to check it out. A disclaimer, I remember effing this up the last time I was on 3 years ago or whenever. Mine are in no particular order.
Yeah.
Just disclaimer, okay?
They are all over the place.
They are. I am too.
Hey,
well, apparently I have 11 kids and 19. Anyways, that's another.
Yes. Hey, Dan.
Yeah.
I don't know if you caught the look of utter surprise by me and Jim when Eric picked a band that almost no one's ever heard of. Just like
my shocked face.
That's not my fault.
That's what he did.
He's known in the well. Let's put it this way: the guys in Nirvana directly cite Husker Du and Bob Mould as a major influence. Bob actually popped up on a Foo Fighters album later on. Dave Grohl, huge Husker Du and Bob Mould fan. So yeah, under the radar, no doubt, but they were no Husker Du, no Pixies. There's no Nirvana. But that's a topic for another show, because right now we're going to shift over to Dan. Over to you for your number 2 pick in power trios.
My number 2 pick, in no particular order, number 2. I saw Rush probably 16 to 19 times. I lost track. The first time I saw Rush was the Hemispheres tour, twice in a row, 3 nights apart. In 1978, I was turned on to them in 1976 when 2112 came out. I was like, what the F word is this? Then I got their live album, All the World's a Stage, and I've been hooked ever since. Rush, just an amazing trio that really, more than maybe any band, I'm thinking, really evolved and matured in their substance of lyrics, the musicality, the maturity and I mean, in every way, they advanced every album, not all in the same direction either, just had many influences. Steve Howe from Yes, Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin, Chris Squire from Yes, et cetera, et cetera. And those three guys just really crushed it. And huge influences on me all the way around. Rush has got to be on the radar there for top trios.
Amen to that. And they're a band that unfortunately I didn't get as into because of Geddy Lee's voice. I didn't really get into them until Test for Echo and Geddy's balls finally dropped and he wasn't that high nasally thing anymore. But there's no getting around the fact Rush is a badass band, with or without Geddy's nasally. Wow, I brought the room to a halt there.
Wait, what was
I'm just wow. Take off, eh? Great
What
White
you
North.
said was so accurate.
Great White
You could not
North.
say a word in disagreement. That's all.
We are all in vague agreement, but no, I once considered Rush either the best of the bad bands or the worst of the great bands. I saw the documentary on them that had so many people like Dave Grohl and just so many people who are influenced by them. I will never consider them anything but great, and I was very, very privileged and honored to be there for their final show at the LA Forum.
Well, hold on one sec. I've got it right. One sec.
I will say, I mean, I think personally, I think I would credit Rush with bringing prog rock to the normies, because anytime you tell somebody who doesn't even know what prog rock is, all you got to say is Rush and they get it.
Right.
You know?
Hey, there's my effing life. I dig it.
This is the printed version, but the audiobook read by Geddy is priceless. It truly, truly is. And the influence on his voice wasn't so much that was his voice, but back then you had two major influences. You had Robert Plant and Ian Gillan of Deep Purple. And the standard was singing high like that. And that's where Geddy's influence was, to emulate that rock standard, was to sing high like that. And that's where that came from.
That makes sense, because Eric doesn't like Zeppelin either.
Shush your mouth. I'm seeing Becoming Led Zeppelin on the big screen this weekend. So right there, Zamora, right. I'm double barreling you, buddy, right there.
Wait, who's Led Zeppelin?
I'm about to commit some blasphemy, though, because I think Robert Plant's solo career is just as impressive as his career with Led Zeppelin.
I agree, especially the first two albums with Cozy Powell and Phil Collins, and then Phil Collins and Barrymore Barlow, who, by the way, John Bonham thought Barrymore Barlow was the best rock drummer ever. So,
well, I agree with you guys. You're wrong. You're wrong.
I didn't say better. I just said just as impressive. And very quick, a quick aside right here. We see the Joe Cocker, Mad Dogs and Englishmen album right here over my left shoulder.
Yeah, I saw that.
Because today was the latest round of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nominees came out, and Joe Cocker finally, for the first fucking time,
I didn't know that.
fucking Cocker is nominated. He has never been. There's a fucking, and you
awesome.
know I'm serious when I'm dropping F-bombs like this. Joe Cocker finally nominated, and I just got to throw props up. The Hall of Fame finally got it right. Joe Cocker deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, so I'm glad he's on there.
Well, besides Keltner, you know who else played drums with him? This guy, Alan White from Yes.
Alan White.
Yeah, that's me, by the way, about 35 years ago.
Nice.
And that baby has grown. He's now 5'9" and 250 pounds.
Love it.
Seriously. But yeah, Alan White played with Joe Cocker before he joined Yes. And before that, he played with some guy. What was his name? John Lennon and George Harrison.
They've been known to make an album before. Yeah.
A couple.
Yeah.
Elevator music.
All right, Marty, before I drop any more F-bombs, over to you for your second pick of the night.
Oh, you're going to drop another one because I think I'm stealing one of yours.
I doubt it. Go ahead.
If I steal it first.
Not then. The Police. It's pretty obvious. I discovered them in seventh grade or whatever. You know, right around. I guess it would have been Ghost. No.
Ghost of the Machine, 1981.
Maybe no. Anyway. I discovered them pretty early, and I really dug them. I mean, when Ghost in the Machine came out, I mean, it was they were constantly on the radio. And when you say radio, and young people are like, "What? You mean Spotify?" No, I mean the radio. You didn't get to choose. You got what you got. And man, they were in constant rotation as I was really coming into my own and liking music and really enjoying it. And just everybody's super talented, and this is just like most of the ones on this list. Super talented guys, and they came together and hey, look at that magic! And boy, I mean, one album after another. I mean, it just they had some hits. They had a few hits, and they had a little bit of talent, behind the drum kit. I mean, you know, that dude, Stuart Copeland can rip. He absolutely can rip, and like I was saying. Poor Bud Goff from Sublime. He's the only one that's not really known on my list. So anyway, yeah, the Police. They were odd. They had their kind of half-ass punk kind of thing, and they went kind of poppy. And then they did a lot of genres. They did a lot of, and it was all sounded like the Police, but different vibe, I guess. Really, really like them. Really like them.
There are a few bands that can say no one else sounds like them. And the Police combined punk, rock, reggae, just pop, everything. And yeah, I'm a bit of a fan right there. This is the remix version with a different running order than what was originally out there, remastered. And
of course it is.
We all know of how much I love Stuart Copeland, but Andy Summers and Sting, both incredible on their respective instruments as well. So great.
Oh,
great.
And that's another band with a singer with a high-pitched voice. Seems to be an ongoing theme tonight.
High pitch, but here's the thing: high pitch and nasally, different story. But
Sting had more of a timbre like Chris Squire from Yes. In fact, when the Police came out, I said, "Oh my God, this guy sounds almost just like Chris Squire." Totally different, like you say, not nasally like Geddy's old voice, but more body to his voice and high. And what a great band! And their reunion concert is epic, and the documentary on that is just as good. And Stuart is very, he's very misunderstood. A lot of people think he's super professorial and stuck up and all that. He's an extremely magnanimous, humble guy, and gives both Andy and Sting so much credit for their geniusness and how he was just playing the drums, looking at the back of their asses and their heads. And it's really refreshing to see someone larger than life have that take and be open about it. I love that.
Yeah, for sure.
No argument for me. And I loved it as Stuart was going through and doing his playing the orchestral thing. These deconstructed
movie soundtracks and everything.
And he's doing the deconstructed stuff in the last few years. Like, yeah, I never realized how great of a lyricist Sting was. Shit, he's good. Don't tell him I said that, by the way. Don't tell him I said that.
Right, I saw that. Yeah. Did you see my interview with Stuart?
What?
Yeah.
Oh shit! I gotta go, guys. I'll be watching that. Just take it, Jim. Take over. We're done. I'm out of here.
Yeah. Look it up. Just look on Facebook or YouTube. Drum Talk TV. Stuart Copeland. And
how did I fucking miss that? Holy!
But the funniest thing about it is I got invited to interview Stuart at Drum Channel. And I said, wait, what? And they said, yeah, he's doing a master class. We heard you're in California. Why don't you come down and interview Stuart on our set? And I said, okay. And until I got there with my crew, I wasn't sure I had the story right. And they said, yeah, just do your thing right here. And it was a really fun interview. He's really a great guy. I'm looking to have him on again. But check it out. It's hilarious.
If you need a guest guy, just sit there and go, I'm your man. I promise to behave myself as much as possible.
Yeah, if you need a groupie, he's your guy.
I'm your. I promise I won't lick anyone's balls. Anyway, Jim. On that note, up to you.
What a handoff.
No pun intended.
Yeah. So my number two. Not going to bury the lead. It's the Beastie Boys. Absolutely love these guys.
Whoa.
Have there ever been three guys like in a band that fit together that well? and just the way they click. It's just absolutely amazing some of the stuff they did. And I mean, such an awesome creative band. The way they, the way they did that thing where they'd finish the lyric together, and just everything, like Sure Shot bringing in a flute player, most badass jazz flute ever, and amazing creative, awesome band. Absolutely loved them in the 80s and 90s. They're fantastic, and the way the three of them synced up was incredible. So
wow,
that is so wow, Jim. I bow to you. Wow,
that's a blindsiding take. I mean, they correct me if you think I'm wrong. I'm fine. I get that all the time here at home. So, but are they not maybe the first not cross genre artists, but the most dramatically cross genre artists, where they took spoken word and rap and mixed it with hardcore rock and kind of put that together in a pie, right? Would that be fair to say to a degree?
I would agree with that. Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's probably been other bands that did something similar, but I can't think of any off the top of my head that did it to the degree.
Here. I think they made that legal to do, if you will.
Well, with them, they actually started out as a punk band, a punk three-piece.
Right.
Then latched on to the rap thing, then became a band again.
Yeah.
Yep.
In fact, I would not be surprised if there's elements in Slipknot that they got from the Beastie Boys, because they're kind of the same thing to a whole different level, where it's more metal, but there's the spoken word, kind of a little bit of rap sprinkled in there, even a touch of that in Korn. Hopefully Ray Luzier won't get mad at me for saying that, but now that I think of it, I can see those influences there from the Beastie Boys.
Oh yeah, definitely. Extremely influential band.
I never thought of that.
So much fun to listen to, man. Never get tired of them.
From, in my book, the #1 rap album of all time with Paul's Boutique, which I share that with Public Enemy, Fear of a Black Planet, and then going to Check Your Head. And what was the other one? It was Check Your Head, and what came out after Check Your Head, Jim?
License to Ill?
No. License to Ill was their first major release. Then Paul's Boutique, Check Your Head, and then Hello Nasty came out. There was another one before Hello Nasty. But anyway, it was a much like you're picking it. It just came out of nowhere that they went from being this rap band to actually picking up instruments and playing again. It was badass. So awesome call, my man. Awesome.
I think what beats that out is Puff the Magic Dragon by Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Yes. Okay, well, I stand corrected. There it is.
You a pothead fucker?
Before they went off on the Jazz Odyssey.
License to Ill absolutely blew my mind, because I was a metal guy. I was, that was my shit. I mean, I missed, I've told Eric this a bunch of times. I missed Duran Duran and Thompson Twins and, all those kind of new wave bands, because I was all into metal, and that stuff was terrible. I hated it. So I was fully a metal guy, hard rock, metal. That's all I liked. And my buddy Tim, who was the same, he was a guitar player, and he was the same. And he said, "Hey man, he pulls out this cassette. He hops in my truck, and I got this cassette. And he goes, it's amazing." And he throws it in, and I was blown away. I'm like, "What is this? What in the world am I hearing?" And I put that on one of my, top 10 albums that doesn't have a bad track on it. It's amazing. It blew me away.
Okay, Marty, metal guy. Oh, it's trivia with Eric now. Easy trivia as far as I'm concerned. Who is the metal guitarist who played on License to Ill?
What, Jim?
Anyone?
I don't have a clue.
That would be Kerry King from Slayer.
Oh,
because they were also on the Def Jam label, and Rick Rubin brought him over to play guitar.
Now that you say it, it's all clear to me now. I remember it now that you told me.
Well, we're going to go to my pick now, and Marty was somewhat right, and he wasn't stepping on my toes, but I had a feeling someone else would bring up the Police tonight. So they're one of my honorable mentions. I'll just bring them up now. So honorable mention to the Police, but I'm going to go for my number 2 pick. I'm going to go with Motorhead. with the phenomenal and rest in peace. Let me actually just rest in peace all of them now I think about it. But not the original lineup, but the most popular lineup of Lemmy Kilmister, Phil Filthy Animal Taylor, and Fast Eddie Clark. Motorhead were just an amazing metal bit. Were they metal? Were they punk? They were just the progenitors to, the new wave of British heavy metal. And they just three guys cranking out just bam, 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 in your face metal with a punk edge or punk with a metal edge. Love it. And, just whether it's Ace of Spades or Overkill, or, just so many great songs in the late 70s, early 80s. I came into them a little bit later, just thanks to MTV and thanks to The Young Ones, the show that MTV that MTV aired. And I love how The Young Ones would incorporate the bands actually into the course of the show. And all of a sudden, there's Lemmy and Phil and Fast Eddie. Actually, I can't remember if it was all three guys at that point, but it just singing Ace of Spades on The Young Ones. Badass shit. Love Motorhead. Sadly, never got to see them live. Did get to see Lemmy perform with another, it's not a power tree, and I can't remember the guitarist's name, but it was Slim Jim Phantom on the guitar playing 50s and 60s rockabilly stuff. So I got to see Lemmy, but not with Motorhead. Rest in peace, all the guys in that band, especially Lemmy, badass, and Motorhead, my second pick tonight.
Nice.
Very awesome.
Nothing wrong with that.
With the Police, as an honorable mention, Stuart Copeland, my man. And once again, I will behave myself as your flunky on that show, Dan, whenever it happens.
You really started acting like you already said yes.
I'm working it. So anyway, well, Dan, to you, your number one pick for Power Trio before we head into our plus one section.
I think
Is it Hanson?
it's awesome. What?
Is it Hanson?
No, I told you we're not stealing your picks, Marty.
Who told you? I think I got to go with what is probably where the first mention of the term supergroup came from, and that was Peter Ginger Baker on drums, Jack Bruce on bass and vocals, and Eric Clapton on guitar and vocals. Cream was really the first super group because of where they came from before. And again, in such a short time span, they had like 3 or 4 studio albums and 3 live albums and a film. And their reunion at the Royal Albert Hall, filmed over the course of 3 or 4 nights. And I want to say 2000, was that 4, 5, 6, something like that, is just amazing. And I've had Kofi Baker, his son, on my show twice, and one of those times was with one of his sisters who's more public. Oh god damn, she's gonna kill me. I can't think of her name at the moment. Oh my god, I'm such an idiot. I'm having a senior moment. But the funny thing is, Kofi was at my house when we did the first interview, and I said towards the end, I said, okay, let's get to funny dad stories. And he just bursted out laughing at the thought of that topic and just ensued in a waterfall of funny stories about his dad, Ginger. And Kofi's just such a wonderfully sweet, humble kid who, grew up under the shadow of his dad, who wasn't around a lot and all that, but is such a great drummer. And that same day we filmed Kofi doing a clinic, and you could see not only his dad's influences, but the influences on his dad from jazz and West African drumming. They lived in Africa for quite a long time. And that's really where jazz came from, is from African rhythm. So I got to give that the number one power trio that really sets the tone for power trios has got to be Cream. It's Nettie Baker, Nettie and Kofi on my show, Kofi alone, any combination. Letty doesn't go public. Nettie helped Ginger write a couple biographies. I think I have one here. I do, but I won't bother you with that. But get the books. Legendary, and watch the film called Beware of Mr. Baker. It's legendary.
That is a great documentary.
Yep.
I've seen that.
And watch the reunion show to see those three come together. after so many years of not talking and the turmoil and the bullshit that happens when they were kids. It's such a great show and film.
I'm glad they
It's
brought that
amazing.
over to the States and New York and LA, but no, there's nothing that Royal Albert Hall.
Yeah, golden.
Yeah, great stuff.
Great lesson in just pure music, you know.
With Cream, badass call, great number.
All right, thanks, guys.
Number one, and Dan's out.
Bye.
Marty, over to you.
It is amazing. All right. Well, to the surprise of exactly no one, Rush. Well, I mean, we already talked about them a bunch, but man, oh man, they were in the midst of me being into metal, which we just talked about. I was hard rock, metal. Rush is neither of those, but just they had a hard driving groove, even though they were very proggish. And they just always, whenever it didn't matter what song, whatever it was. And at the time when I kind of discovered them, I knew about them, but when they got big, on regular radios, Tom Sawyer, obviously. And man, leading up to that, I thought these guys are really good, and I couldn't believe it when they actually were being played on kind of a poppy station, almost like a pop rock station. And of course, they were in constant rotation on KMET and KLOS. But just so good. And I don't know if this is what you were going to bring up, but my dad was a friend of, his real name is Tony Geranios, but he's Jack Secret. And he's the guy that does all the cues and makes everything kind of come together to add more sound and more texture to what they do live. So he started out as a roadie, and then he, pretty much cemented himself as the guy. And he's called Jack Secret because,
So
I'm sure
that's a good call. That's not who I was going to bring up.
No,
Tony
yeah.
Renos was the one who handled like all the Taurus pedals and synthesizers, and just like you said, helped kind of bring that fourth element to fruition. Yeah.
Skip, maybe?
What's that?
The guy you're thinking of, Skip?
Nope, somebody else.
No. So anyway, I was such a huge Rush fan, and one day my old man, he says, I'm going to Rush tonight. I'm like, you're going to Rush? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, I got backstage passes, and my buddy's good friends with this guy named Jack Secret, and we're gonna go backstage. And he did. He went backstage and hung out with Rush, and
Damn.
Wow.
he said it was really a weird experience because they're not like, he'd been backstage with a lot of bands, and really a weird experience, very different experience being backstage with Rush and interacting with them. And he said they were all cool as shit.
I did that once on the Test for Echo tour when they played at Mission Bay at the Summer Pops Festival. And it was surreal because Neil's never present for that stuff, but Getty and Alex were just so down to earth and regular guys. They've known each other since they were like 13, 14. And it was really cool. It was awesome. They're just so humble, down to earth. They still are. Alex is in a new band. I can't think of the name of it. And he's the oldest one by like 25 years or something. And my son, Steve, who's our producer, who I do a prog show with on the side of Drum Talk TV that we simulcast on, is working on getting Alex on because of the ties to other stuff. So we'll see. I'd love to get Alex on. He's just such a great musician, amazing guitar player, composer, songwriter, blah, 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 blah. What can you say, right?
Yeah. He did a really fun.
Andy Summers in The Police gets overshadowed by this amazing rhythm section.
Right.
Yeah.
Damn good guitarist. Absolutely.
Yeah. Did any of you catch him on Trailer Park Boys? It was great. He did a cameo on Trailer Park Boys. They kidnapped him because Bubbles really loved him and everything. So the idiot guy kidnapped him. It was great. It was fantastic.
Yeah, great comic timing. I loved his performance in that. Yes. Good call.
Really.
All right,
I got
Jim.
one more Trailer Park Boys.
Marty, you've mentioned Rush. Jim, you've mentioned Rush. We go to you now for your third pick of the night.
All right. So for my number 3, well, before I get to number 3, I'm going to mention some honorable mentions. First is Genesis. So when Peter Gabriel and our friend Mr. Hackett isn't involved in Genesis, they are a trio technically. So they're an honorable mention. Goo Goo Dolls, good trio that I love. Ben Folds 5, even though there's 3 of them. This is kind of out of pocket for me, but the Supremes are a trio that I absolutely love. Classic.
Jim, very quickly, you are our king for the out of left field stuff tonight.
No shit. I mean, seriously, those were great. Genesis, I'm such a huge Genesis fan, going way back to their first live album. That didn't even occur to me. That is so spot on. And I love the album Spot the Pigeon, which is a European import, by the way. That is so genius, man. Really.
All right. Well, Jim, I just had to throw in, again, major props to Mr. Culver tonight. But back to you for your number one after your honorable mentions.
All right. So my number one, I probably would get kicked out of Seattle if I didn't mention this. So I gotta go with Nirvana.
Nirvana, baby.
Probably the most iconic trio of my generation. Just an amazing band. Obviously, Kirk.
I can't.
Kurt gets most of the attention, obviously, but that sound they created with Chris on bass, and of course the great Dave Grohl on drums. They really had so much to do with the sound that band created. And
I have a question about that.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question about that because
Okay.
it's not in my purview as much as other genres. What would you lean them more towards, Jim? Are they more the spark of grunge or a product of grunge?
They are so that they certainly were not the first grunge band. The grunge had been around for a while, but they were the ones that they brought it into the public consciousness.
Cool.
So, they were the spark in that they kind of made it mainstream.
Okay, so that is fair to say then.
Yeah, and that is an endless debate among. That is an endless debate among Seattleites that were around in the 90s, which I was not, but I've known a lot of Seattleites that were around. They're always bitching about that, man.
Louder than love.
Everybody friggin' talks about Nirvana, man. I was there before Nirvana was on the scene. I went to the clubs. I knew the other bands. Like
you should tell them it was the Monkees.
Yeah, exactly.
Monkees. They were a major influence on the Beatles.
That's what I've heard.
So wait, before we move on, I forgot to do my honorable mentions as usual. I always forget. One of them was Nirvana.
Have you finished on Nirvana?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Well, Marty, to you for your honorable mentions.
Sorry, Jim. I thought you were done.
Sorry.
So yeah, Nirvana, amazing. They're everything that Jim said. They're a really great band. Good songwriting, good sound, and they really clicked and a lot of talent. My other honorable mention is the Jimi Hendrix Experience, and the reason I wanted to was so psyched about getting my honorable mentions is the drummers. I want to go back to that. I got Neil Peart, Stewart, and then Bud Gaw was a guy that nobody knew, and then we got Mitch Mitchell and Dave Grohl. So all of my guys, except Bud Gaw, are all big time drummers. Weird. Maybe you got to be in a good trio.
It's almost like drummers are awesome people.
Mitch Mitchell.
You're welcome.
Drummers are awesome people there. That is our theme for the night, Jim. And you guys are cat a corner to each other. Very good. There you have it. I'll get it right.
Drummer's corner here.
Yes. All right. Well, for my I got to throw a couple of honorable mentions in very quickly. I want to go with Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble.
Yeah.
And also I said I'd be bringing up my brother Mark again. Mark turned me on to a band, actually 2 bands, North Mississippi All-Stars. Not the prototypical power trio, but it was the first album they put out, Shake Hands with Shorty, were the Dickinson brothers, Cody and Luther, and Chris Chu on the bass. and just three guys just making an amazing Delta blues sound. They're another honorable mention, but another band Mark turned me on to, Government Mule.
Oh, yeah.
Warren Haynes on guitar, Matt Apps on drums, and rest in peace, Alan Woody on the bass. Their first two albums, and I think they were recording their third album, maybe the third album had come out when Alan Woody passed away. But those guys, just an offshoot from the Allman Brothers band that Warren Haynes and I believe Matt Apps was playing in. I can't remember which of the three guys, but they were playing in the Allman Brothers. But I did Government Mule, their first album, the self-titled, and then Dose, their second album. Shit, just some great power trio stuff. Those are my honorable mentions. My number one is going to go to the best little band out of Texas, ZZ Top, with the Reverend Billy Gibbons. I'm sorry, Billy F. Gibbons on guitar, Frank Beard on drums, and rest in peace, Dusty Hill on the bass. Those guys, I mean, just so much with. I mean, everyone makes fun of AC/DC for making the same album again and again. The Ramones doing the same album again and again. Name another band is in it. ZZ Top has been making phenomenal albums since 1970, 1971, and still out there playing that blues boogie like nobody else. And I got to give it ZZ Top, my number one power trio. Police, no disrespect to Stu, but I love some ZZ Top.
Yeah. They are amazing.
And since we're already talking about singers that have been on TV shows, I got to mention Billy Gibbons on the show Bones.
Yeah, you brought him up on our TV show. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got to mention that he was a lot of fun on that show, basically playing himself as slightly unhinged, but yeah, a lot of fun. Basically, one of the main characters is dating a coworker, and it turns out she's Billy Gibbons' daughter. So he has to deal with Billy Gibbons as a potential father-in-law, and slightly unhinged version. And
that's worse than me.
Yeah, so made for some pretty wild episodes of that show. But
I can't remember if I brought it up on that particular show where we talked about musicians being guesting on TV shows. But ZZ Top as themselves, with bassist Dusty Hill when he was still with us. Again, rest in peace, Dusty. As the cousin to Hank Hill on King of the Hill.
I forgot about that.
And messed around and having Billy Gibbons just spin him around or maybe it was Dusty spinning around on the bass with the guitar, but just doing the little signature move. And ZZ Top.
Yeah,
I have not seen them enough times, but goddamn, I love me some the best little band out of Texas.
And David Lee Roth in an interview, they asked him, "Hey, who's the best live band out there?" You know, they're thinking he's going to say Zeppelin or whatever. And he said, it's not even close. It's ZZ Top. I bet you thought I was going to say Van Halen. Nope, it's ZZ Top. For a guy with that big giant of an ego to actually point to another band, I mean, that says something.
Well, Van Halen, I can't remember which song they did, but they used to cover a ZZ Top song in their early sets.
Wow. A music thing you don't know? What the hell?
Well, I know they did it. I just can't remember which song.
Yeah, they did. It was from one of the early albums.
Was it LaGrange? I can't remember what it was, but I'm pretty sure it was from Tres Hombres, but no. Yeah. And it's a special drink that's not helping me right now, Marty.
Water.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that concludes our power trio.